Hello, everyone. How's it going? My name is Sarah, and first of all, I want to thank Christina and everyone at Iconic Offices for inviting me to participate in my second virtual event. I really enjoy any opportunity to talk about something that I'm really passionate about, which includes ways that we can nurture and develop a positive mental attitude. So over the course of the next 40 minutes, I'm going to take you guys through a bit of a journey to help you understand what a positive mental attitude or positive thinking is, why it's so important, and how you can get it, because that's what we all want. But before we get to the real juicy part of our conversation, I want to share just a little bit about who I am. As I've already said, my name is Sarah Doyle. As I was saying, guys, we're going to talk about how you can develop a positive mental attitude. It's something that during these very difficult and challenging times that we're living in at the moment, we would all benefit a huge amount from. Before we get to the real juicy part of our conversation, I'm going to share a little bit about who I am and what I do. My name is Sarah. I'm a coach, author, and speaker, and I'm passionate about helping you to achieve your goals and increase your confidence and self-esteem at the same time. As a coach, my job is to support you understand what your goals are, whether or not that's getting a promotion in work or beginning a journey of self-discovery where you want to strengthen the relationship that you have with yourself, improve your confidence and your self-compassion. I've been coaching for almost 10 years and running my business called the Better Life Project for just over 6. I love what I do, and I consider myself very lucky to be able to say that I love what I do. Okay, the reason why you guys are here. How can I develop a positive mental attitude? I'm going to ask you guys to do something with me right now. In the chat box, I want you to write down one word that you associate with positivity, positive thinking, or a positive mental attitude. Just one word. Fire away in the chat box and let me know. If you were asking me what I thought positive thinking or positive mental attitude was, I would say happiness, cheerfulness, chirpiness. And I am loving some of the answers that are coming in. Happiness, balance, that's a great one, Fiona. Energy, Kevin, I like that one a lot. Freedom, resilience, love that one. Kindness, success, upbeat. Oh, great enthusiasm, brilliant. Okay, guys, thank you. And you all fell into my trap. You all know how to use the chat box. I like to make my workshops interactive and fun. I want to help you understand that personal development can be fun and that we can have a bit of crack as we're learning about ourselves and how we can develop intrinsic goals such as improving our positive mental attitude. Cheesy at times, Emma, couldn't agree with you more. Okay, so I want us to start off by playing a game. I'm going to share a hypothetical story, and I want you to, in the chat box, give me your first reaction. If you're not comfortable sharing in the chat box, that's totally okay. Maybe you could just think about it, or you could even write it down. But I'm going to share with you a hypothetical story, and I want you to tell me what your first reaction was. All the way back in March of 2020, just as the first lockdown was announced in Ireland, poor Beth was made redundant from her job. She was devastated. She worked really, really hard to get to that point in her career. So the fact that she was made redundant completely took her by surprise. And if that wasn't worse, because she was made redundant, she couldn't find any work. So she had to move out of her amazing apartment with her incredible roommates back home. Now, don't get me wrong. She liked her parents. She liked living back home, but she loved her roommates and she loved her amazing apartment even more. So within the space of a week, she was made redundant. She had to move home. And then her boyfriend broke up with her. She just couldn't. She was devastated. What's your first reaction of poor Beth and everything that she's gone through? If you feel comfortable, share it in the chat box, write it down on a piece of paper in front of you, or think about it. Poor Beth, within the space of a short week, lost her job, had to move out of her amazing apartment with her fantastic roommates, and then got dumped. Okay, so we have a combination of responses here. It's tough, everything happens for a reason. Empathy, new things are coming, tragic, unlucky, a lot of pain. Tough, unfortunate, unlucky. A lot has happened outside of her control, horrible, a refresh. Now, there's no right or wrong answer to this. We're all entitled to a reaction, and Beth is absolutely entitled to a reaction as well. But what we're going to discover over the course of the next 20 to 25 minutes is how we might be able to reshape our frame of thinking, the way that we think about certain things, to support us. Because we can't control what happens to us, but we can learn how to manage our response to what happens to us. So we can't control what's happening on the outside, but we can control our response. And this is the absolute beauty in the difference between a reaction, which can often be quite impulsive, and a response, which can be quite intentional and quite deliberate. And what positive thinking is going to empower us to do is to respond in a way that is empowering, helpful, and healthy, so that we can go on to achieve our goals, so that we can do what we want to do. So for those of you who have your response, I want you to bear that in mind. I want you to take it from the chat box, store it up here, because we're going to revisit this in a few minutes' time. Okay, so first of all, we have to understand what positive thinking is. We need to understand what it is that we're working towards, what it's about, why it's important, and how we can get it. But the first part is, what is positive thinking? Positive thinking is a mental and emotional attitude that focuses on the bright side of life and expects positive results. I really enjoy this next definition from Kendra Sherry at Very Well Mind. Positive thinking actually means approaching life's challenges with a positive outlook. It does not necessarily mean avoiding or ignoring bad things. Instead, it involves making the most of the potentially bad situation, trying to see the best in other people, and viewing yourself and your abilities in a positive light. One of my favorite quotes, it's a rule that I live by. Happiness does not mean that we've eliminated the negativity from our life. And it's very interesting. When I observed many of the responses after I asked, what's the first word that you think of when I say the word positivity? The vast majority of responses were around cheerfulness or enthusiasm. And I just want to take a moment to recognize those of you who might have said something like balance, because I think what we need to remember around positivity is that it's not how it's portrayed in Hollywood movies, in lots of books, and sometimes in our deepest fantasies and dreams. How many of you guys have ever been labeled the positive, upbeat, happy, chirpy person? But my God, sometimes you just have a bad day and you want to be left with your misery in peace. That is completely normal. Experiencing anxiety or sadness or stress is just your body's way of reacting and processing with what's going on around you. Positivity is a choice that we make, but we need to give ourselves permission to accept our bad moods, to sit with that pain or that discomfort. And then there will come a time when we will be at a juncture. We will be able to make a choice about how we move forward. Those individuals who adopt a positive outlook or have a positive mental attitude will choose the journey or the road that takes them down positivity, that takes them down something that's a little bit brighter and more uplifting. Okay, so before we delve any deeper into this, it's really important that we start to look at what positive thinking is not. I used to have this image of positive thinking as those cheerleaders from Bring It On, even though they were actually quite a bit bitchy now that I think about it. But just imagine really, really cheesy cheerleaders, always cheerful, always happy, always upbeat, ignoring all of life's problems, ignoring all of life's challenges, ignoring their perceived setbacks or shortcomings, just rose tinted glasses. That's often how we perceive positivity, and that's how it's often portrayed in the media. And I think it's important that we break down those barriers, we deconstruct those myths, so that we can fully appreciate that it's not what we thought it was, and it is definitely more within our grasp than we imagined. Positivity is not just think happy thoughts. It is so far from think happy thoughts. It is not about being constantly happy or cheerful. It incorporates both positive and negative thoughts or feelings into your perspective and experience of life. Being positive is about making a choice to think or to focus on the bright side of life. It's accepting both moods. It's about controlling our attitude. I remember, so I've been coaching now for almost 10 years. So I've done a little bit of coaching on almost everything. And one of the, I think, areas that I feel really comfortable in is positivity and happiness, because we can take a really practical approach, a very forward focused, proactive approach towards developing these characteristics in our life. But I went through a phase there of feeling a little bit torn about positivity, because we were seeing a lot of toxic positivity out there. And it was getting as it rightly should, quite a bad rap. So I would feel the need to clarify what I meant by positivity by referring to it as real positivity. But it's only been in recent times where I've realized that there's absolutely no need to clarify something that already carries with it such a empowering and all-encompassing definition. And I'll bring you back to what Kendra Sherry from Very Well Mind has said. It's not about avoiding or ignoring the bad things. It involves making the most of potentially bad situations. Coaching is a very future-focused and proactive intervention, and positive thinking is a very future-focused and proactive way of approaching or thinking about our life that requires us to make a decision or a choice about how we want to move forward. Do I want to move forward with a positive outlook, or am I going to continue to dwell on what has happened, live in the past, and ruminate or worry about the future? So with that in mind, I hope that many of you have realized that it's far easier, that it's more attainable to become positive than you previously thought that it was, because it doesn't mean that you're eliminating anything negative about your life or your experience of it. It simply means that you're empowering yourself with the choice to think about things differently. If anyone has seen Pirates of the Caribbean, you will know what I'm about to quote, or you'll know who I'm about to quote. Sometimes the problem isn't the problem is how we think about the problem. Thank you very much, Captain Jack Sparrow. And I think if we can think more positively about problems, we can reduce so much of our stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. We can promote feelings of creativity, joy, and our overall well-being. And we're in a much better position to be able to tackle whatever life throws at us. So to summarize really quickly, positive thinking is not about eliminating negative thoughts or experiences. It's not just think happy thoughts. It's not being constantly cheerful and constantly happy. It is about incorporating negative and positive emotions and experiences into our life, but making a choice to focus on the positive. Okay, so here are some of the characteristics of, so I'm just going to move my chat box. Here are some of the characteristics of, or traits of a positive mindset. And the reason why I thought it was so important to include these characteristics is because what we can also do is to iron out any confusion that we might have around the differences between positive thinking and positive mental attitude, which can be used interchangeably. But then also optimism, where does that come into play? Optimism is a character or it's a feature of positive thinking, as is mindfulness, acceptance, gratitude, and resilience. what we will notice is that when you work on one of these traits, for example, you can promote your overall feeling of positivity. You don't need to work on all 5 of them. Working on one will have a positive effect on all 4 and promote your feelings of positivity at the same time. So one of my many favorite quotes, I have so many of them, my favorite quotes is, the only way that you can eat an elephant is one bite at a time. And when you're looking at creating positive change in your life, I wholeheartedly agree with the approach of one bite, one small step, 1 degree. So what I would like for you to do is to ask yourself, what trait am I the most interested in trying to pursue? Am I the most confident that I'll be able to integrate into my life, new habit that I can start? And then just work on that and work on that until you're reasonably certain that it doesn't feel like it's work anymore. So I'm going to go through some exercises that you can use to support you. But a positive mindset looks like someone who might be resilient, optimistic. They will have gratitude. They will feel gratitude. They will accept what was going on, and they will be very mindful. If I can just share a personal story with you guys, and it's possibly something, no, I didn't have to share it at the beginning, but as a self-employed person, when lockdown was announced back in March, I was very, very worried about the impact that would have on my business and how I would be able to move things forward. My husband also works for himself. He's a gym owner. So together we were both a little bit nervous about what was going to be happening over the next few months. I have done a lot of work around acceptance, and it has made a huge, huge difference in my life and in my approach and in my work. There is nothing that I can do to change the current environment or situation. I have accepted that we are where we are, but I have chosen to look as positively as I can to the future. And it's made a massive impact on me and the work that I do. And this came from acceptance. And that's just how powerful it can be when we are looking at trying to promote these feelings of positivity or well-being. Okay, so this is what a positive mindset looks like. These are the traits. This is how you'll be able to recognize it. What are the benefits of it? There are reasons demonstrated through science why we should take this stuff as seriously as we possibly can. There are reasons demonstrated through science why we should take thinking more positively seriously. It is not just airy-fairy woo-woo. This stuff works. We feel better in ourselves. We perform better. Our relationships are better. It is something that if we have the time and the resources to commit a couple of minutes every day towards nurturing positive thinking vis-a-vis one of these traits that we've spoken about, we should take it seriously, because those who are more positive experience lower rates of depression and distress. We have a greater resistance towards the common cold. It links quite strongly to your immune system, better psychological and physical well-being, better cardiovascular health, and reduced risk of death from cardiovascular disease. These are just some of the, I guess, kind of big, lofty examples of why we should take this stuff more seriously. But on a smaller scale, it promotes feelings of creativity, better decision making. We have a better relationship with ourselves, and we just feel happier. And guys, I don't know about you, but here in Ireland, we are looking at, like, we're coming towards the end of January. That's 10 months of varying levels of lockdown. We could all benefit from thinking very, very differently, feeling more positive and upbeat about our situation. So if you find yourself spending more than half an hour on social media, if you find yourself watching a second and third program on Netflix, if you take a look at your screen time on your phone, well, that's my son, and you're not satisfied with the amount of time that you spend on your screen, you have time to dedicate towards your personal development. The time exists. You just need to reprioritize how you spend that time. Are you going to spend time doing things that will serve your future self so that you can come out of this lockdown feeling re-energized and rejuvenated? Or will we just continue to feel a little bit meh and lull a tiny bit. And I think the reason why you guys are here is because you're serious about learning and understanding, how can I feel more positive in my everyday life? Activities. I am on a roll. Hi, my name is Sarah. Oh my goodness, you guys will never actually believe this, but a few years ago I was working as a temp in as a reception job, and I think I was just very flustered this particular moment that a delivery man arrived, that when it came to signing my name, for longer than I'd care to admit, I was sitting there going, what's my name again? So spelling activities wrong isn't actually the worst thing that's happened to me. Okay. Over the course of the next 5 or so minutes, I'm going to talk about activities, practical things that you can do to promote feelings of positivity in your everyday life. What you need to ask yourself is, how confident am I that I can set aside the time I need to complete this exercise every day? If you think I'm going to do 15 minutes every day, but out of a confidence scale, 0 being not confident and 10 being very confident, you're only about a 6. 15 minutes, even if you're a 7, 15 minutes is too high. Lower that number, lower your expectations. I want you to be reasonably certain that you can accomplish what you've set out to do, or what you've set out to accomplish. So we're looking at a 7, 8, 9, or 10. The goal is to only do 1, max 2 of these exercises every day. If you miss a day here or there, it's not the end of the world. Give yourself a little bit of support, a little bit of kindness, give yourself a bit of a hug, and then get back up on the horse again tomorrow. Life is going to get in the way, things are going to happen, the journey is never going to be perfect, it's not going to be a straight line. So again, when I'm going through these exercises, I want you guys to ask yourself, how confident am I that I'll be able to put aside 5 minutes every day to do one of the activities that Sarah has spoken about? I'm a 7, 8, 9, or 10, brilliant, fire ahead, go for it, and do it until it doesn't feel like it's work anymore. But if it's feeling like it's work, lower your expectations a tiny bit. As you're trying something new in your life, the goal is to accomplish, the goal is to succeed. So if you and your 8-year-old can't do it together, you're asking too much of yourself. Be simple, be kind. There's a huge amount going on in the world right now and in our minds right now. Trying to create positive change is 100% possible, but we just need to go slowly. Okay, so these are 5 exercises that we can use to support us, promote positivity in our life. The first 5 are my favorite. The exercise called the doubler is amazing. So this is a writing exercise. For many of us, these will all be writing exercises, in fact. So the doubler is a writing exercise where you take one positive experience from the past 24 hours and spend 2 minutes writing it down, writing in detail about that experience. And the reason why we're writing it down is because when you think about how your brain is structured, our brains are what they call neuroplastic or neuroplasticity. And it basically refers to the brain's ability to restructure itself. Within our brain, we have gazillions of neural pathways. This is your brain, by the way, guys. It's clean tissue, don't worry. Within your brain, you have gazillions of neural pathways that are responses to certain things. You will think, feel, or behave based on how these pathways are created. So you will think very automatically, subconsciously about certain things because your brain needs time and energy to pick up the pen that you keep dropping, to drink the water, or to pick up your phone when it rings. We need the energy to be able to do these things. So our brain wants to do as much as it possibly can subconsciously. But because of the science around neuroplasticity, we understand that it is possible to rewire our brain. For many of us, our first reaction or impulse can often feel quite negative. What we're trying to do using an exercise like the doubler is to strengthen a different connection that would promote feelings of positivity. And that is why we write things down. We're reliving the experience and giving our brain the opportunity to solidify a new way of thinking or responding or behaving about something that's happened around us. So over time, we're asking our brain to go like this to like this. We're restructuring it, we're changing the way that we think. It takes repeated action and consistent effort. So it can happen, but you need to make this commitment to yourself to ensure that it does happen. So if you like the sound of the doubler, for 5 minutes every day, write down one positive experience that took place in the past 24 hours. Another incredible one is a gratitude practice or gratitude journal. Now, for anyone who's familiar with the science of happiness, you'll know that gratitude is right up there as one of the, I guess, most transformative practices that we can adopt to support us to change our way of thinking about certain things. Another favorite saying of mine is to trade expectation for what you want for appreciation for what you already have. I remember being at a Tony Robbins event about 7 or 8 years ago. It was absolutely mental. I was sitting in the very back because I was a bit scared. And he spoke about this plane ride that he was on, going from, I think it was the East Coast to the West Coast of the States. And the person that he was sitting next to or behind was giving out that there was no Wi-Fi on the plane. And Tony Robbins, when he was telling back the story, was telling it to us in such a way that just, so he was saying, we are sitting in a tin bird flying across the country and you're giving out that there's no Wi-Fi. Oh my God. And again, it just really opens your mind to what it is that we expect from life, and how if we could just be grateful that we're in this tin bird flying across the country so we can work, so we can visit family, so we can go visit so we can go on a holiday. That is incredible that we can do those things, guys. And I swear to God, I have never, ever, ever given out about any incident in my life, and I've been lucky to fly quite a bit, when there's been no Wi-Fi or there's been no TV or anything like that. We just be grateful for everything that we have. So your gratitude practice, write down 3 things that you're grateful for that occurred in the last 24 hours. Be as specific as you possibly can with your gratitude practice. It's really, really important that it's not just this roof over your head that you're grateful for. It's why that roof over your head makes you feel, what that roof over your head gives you, what it empowers you to do. Why are you grateful for having a roof over your head? So it's important to be specific. Be mindful. Focus on the present instead of dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. Okay, so I was just checking the chat box there. Focus on the present instead of dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. And I think that's what happens to a lot of us when we are struggling with positivity, is that we become stuck in the past. We begin to worry incessantly about the future, which prevents us from focusing and being mindful on what it is that we have around us right now. One of my favorite ways to practice mindfulness is using an app called Calm, C-A-L-M. Some of you may have heard of it. I think it's absolutely amazing. Some of the meditations on it are 90 seconds. So I recommend Calm for anyone who's interested in starting a mindfulness journey. Headspace is also very, very good. Maybe some of you guys, if you use something else, could share in the chat box. What are your favorite ways to practice mindfulness? Let me know in the chat box so that we can help others who want to start their journey as well. Reframe your failures. Turn your failures or mistakes into lessons and learn from them. I've got a cool exercise that I'll show you in a few minutes that will help you to do that. Positive affirmations. Many of us, when we wake up in the morning, will think immediately of what needs to get done that day. The meeting that we're dreading, the report that we didn't finish, the breakfast that we have to make for the whole family. We immediately think of something that's quite negative, something that's quite disempowering, something that can be very unproductive towards helping us to live a positive, more happier life. Positive affirmations just help us to change the record a tiny bit. A positive affirmation or a self-affirmation is just a collection of words or statements that targets a specific set of beliefs that we've created about our life or body, relationships, or career. The affirmation doesn't need to be sexy or long or particularly complicated. It can be something as basic as I am confident and capable at what I do. I am a successful person. I release negative feelings and thoughts that I have about myself. And imagine starting your day that way. Imagine starting your day with, I get to do this. I can do this. As opposed to, I can't believe I have to do this today. I'm not able for it. It's an incredible shift in perspective and can open you up to so many new avenues, opportunities, and possibilities. So what you guys are looking at doing is committing approximately 5 minutes every day to one of these exercises and seeing how you go, doing it for as long as you need to do it so that it feels like it just isn't work anymore. So I'm going to jump into the chat box here and see what some people have said. Insight timer, yes, I've heard of that. Thank you for recommending it. Headspace a lot. Deliciously Ella app, brilliant. Roisin, with your gratitude journal, does it have to be different things each time? Ideally, yes, but if the same thing is happening every day that makes you feel grateful, then write down that same thing. But maybe there's a different reason why you feel grateful for it. You could try to capture that. I am enough. I love that one, Fiona. Adrienne, I've seen her. She's a yogi. She's got a really big YouTube channel, doesn't she? Yeah. Okay, so there's been a couple of things here around lockdown life is just very repetitive at the moment, and it's difficult to find things to be grateful for because we're always doing the same thing. I totally get it. I think what we need in that case is just a small little bit of variety back in our life. So I'm going to talk about things that seem really, really small, but it's the small things that mean the most at the moment. Go on a different route for your walk. If you're in a position to get a takeaway coffee, go to a different takeaway coffee shop. Buy the person behind you a coffee. You could send a card in the post to your family and friends. You could start to send messages or WhatsApp messages to people that you haven't met before. Connect with people in your office in a different way by asking them what they need support with, or acknowledging or recognizing something that they did really well, giving them feedback on that. You're just looking at changing your routine ever so slightly. Fiona, I absolutely love that. And I know why you think it sounds trivial, but it's actually huge because our legs are the reasons why we can get from A to B. Fiona mentioned I've stripped back my gratitude journal to simply saying things like I'm grateful for my legs. And I think that we could all learn a thing or two from that. I think that's really, really, really powerful. So Fiona, thank you for sharing that. Okay, guys, I'm going to move along because I am running out of time. There's a couple of exercises that I want to show you guys to support you develop your resilience. One thing though that I think is really important to remember is that life doesn't get easier or more forgiving. We just get stronger and more resilient. I've just been saying this to myself over and over and over again through lockdown. You've survived all of your tough days up until now, Sarah. You've survived all of your tough days up until now, Sarah. So I know that I can survive all the days that come because I've accepted that there will be difficult days to come. But I've made a choice to be as positive as I possibly can about the situation, and it's made my head a much happier place to be. I haven't always been positive. My mom used to call me grumpy when I was in school. So I don't know at what stage in my life things just started to shift. I don't know what stage it started to change. It was probably when I became a coach and realized that there were actually things that I could do to nurture the mindset that I wanted for myself. So these things can be done, and it can be done in a very accessible, practical, and simple way, a way that works for you. Resiliency refers to the ability to cope with whatever life throws at us. And if 2020 has taught us anything, it's that we cannot plan or prepare because life can throw massive curveballs at us in the form of global pandemics, which will result in global crises of unseen proportions. We just need to learn how we can bounce back. That inner toughness, that mental strength is an asset that will serve us so far into the future. But how can we do that? Well, the first thing that we can do is to see how we have done it in the past. So I'm going to read something to you guys. It's an exercise called Doors Closed and Doors Opened. Now, I'm going to go through it a little quickly, but you'll get the general gist of it. I want you to think about a time in your life where someone rejected you, or you missed out on something important, or when a big plan collapsed. These will be points in your life when a door closed. So, for example, this would be Beth when she lost her job, lost her apartment, and lost her boyfriend. Now, I want you to think about what happened after. What door opened? What would never have happened if that first door didn't close? And I want you to write down your experiences. I want you to reflect over your experiences and think about what led to the door closing in the first place, but what helped you open the new door? How long did it take you to realize that a new door was open? Was it easy or hard for you to make this realization? What prevented you from seeing this new door? What can you do next time to recognize a new opportunity sooner? What were the effects of the door closing on you? And did it last long? Did the experience bring anything positive? Which character strengths did you use? And what does a closed door represent to you now? This is an incredible exercise that can demonstrate to us the power of positive thinking and how positive thinking can be applied practically to support us shift our mindset. The thing that I keep on coming back to with regards to this particular exercise, myself and my husband went sail agreed on what we thought was our dream home back in February of last year. It got pulled from the market very abruptly, long before COVID reared its ugly head. We were absolutely devastated. And everyone kept on saying, it all happens for a reason. But I just didn't know what that reason was. So I couldn't be happy about it. I didn't know how to be happy about it. And my mom just kept on saying, things happen for a reason. But Sarah, until you figure out what that reason is, it's going to be really, really hard. And I accepted that. And that made a massive difference to me because it gave me permission to feel my feelings. This is really hard. Not getting the house back in February was one of the best things that's ever happened to me and my family, because we have discovered a part of Wicklow that we want to live in, that we absolutely adore. We have had so many incredible memories here, and we're currently renting this absolutely amazing house. It's really hard getting to the reason why it didn't happen. And sometimes you'll never ever know just how hard it is until you get to that reason. But with acceptance, positivity, and a little bit of hope, things do have a tendency to work out when you believe that they can. So, using what it is that you've learned now, poor Beth, who was made redundant, lost her boyfriend and her beautiful apartment, with what you know now, what would you say to Beth? And I want you to complete this sentence. But now that Beth has lost her job, her apartment, and her boyfriend, she'll have time to do what? What will Beth now have time to do? She'll have time to travel the world, to find herself, to go back to college, to do the thing that she's been putting off for ages. She'll have time to pursue her passions, to experience flow, to grow, to focus on herself, to find balance and energy. See? We can change our mindset using the practices and activities that I've shared with you up until now. So if Beth can do it, you guys can too as well. Go slow, be kind and gentle to yourself. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that being positive means that you've eliminated negative things from your life, because that's not what it's about. It means that you've accepted that negative things will be there. That's it. Your attitude is something that you can control. So after you've given yourself permission to feel your feelings, and to lean into them. Make a decision about where you want to go. Guys, we are coming to the end of my presentation. I am incredibly grateful to all of you for sticking with me and all of my spelling mistakes. I'm sure there were more there than I myself realized. Just making sure that I spelled my Instagram handle correctly, my website correctly, and my name correctly. I think we're all good. High five. Okay, for anyone who wants to find out more information about my business, you can check out thebetterlifeproject.ie. You can also find me on my Instagram page. I am pretty active. I do love a little bit Instagram, Sarah_the_Better_Life_Project. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you guys might have, but I hope that above all else, you will understand that that positivity is an attitude that you can control once you make the choice. Please don't think that it means that you have to eliminate the negativity in your life. It means that you accept it. It's been an absolute pleasure. And Christina, once again, thank you for having me.